All right, welcome to the Marketing Center of Excellence, where we bring you the latest and greatest in marketing strategies to help you and your agency succeed. Today's episode is something I'm really excited about. It's all about quality improvement strategies, and we have some really fantastic value to share with you guys today. And I've got my good friend Lynn with me here as well, who's a master at EOS. I'm going to share with you a little bit about Six Sigma, and we'll give you guys some techniques that you'll be able to literally walk away today from our session with some very actionable things that you can do. Our goal today is not to overwhelm you with the bigger world of quality improvement and everything EOS or everything Six Sigma. It's just to expose you guys to some other ways of thinking and some systems that both Lynn and I are using in our own agencies and our own businesses. So welcome everyone, and we'll give everyone maybe a few minutes to join in. And while we're doing that, Lynn was just recently at an EOS event, and I'm going to let him take the floor and just share a little bit about that event.
Yeah. Hey, guys, welcome. I'm so glad to be with you today. I want to tell you really quickly my story. I want you to just understand where this EOS thing came from in my life. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I've had a paper route when I was 9. I built one of the first online auctions in 1996 and launched our first e-commerce store in 97. And for the last 25 years, I've been doing digital marketing and helping local businesses grow with websites and SEO, all of those things. In 2020, I collapsed in my yard in October and had a massive pulmonary embolism. And most people don't make it through that. And somehow, as I'm laying in the ICU fighting for my life, all I could think about was, what kind of mess did I leave my wife and my son? But my wife was going to have to go down to my office. She was going to have to lock the door. She was going to have to fire all of our team, and she would have lost all of our clients because, quite frankly, that business wouldn't have run without me. And the phrase there is, I had a job, not a business. And so, for the grace of God, somehow I survived that pulmonary embolism. It took many months to recover and get my strength back. But I went on a mission. To systemize my business, to build an asset, to build a company that would run without me, that would protect my family, whether I was here or not. And so I spent a couple of years, started out trying to self-implement EOS. I wasn't very successful with that. It wasn't really a skill of mine at the time. But at some point, I hired an EOS implementer, and over the last 2 years, more than doubled our gross revenue, 7x'd our profits, grew from 10 employees to 27, and have essentially taken myself out of the day-to-day running my business. And so I'm a huge believer in EOS and what it's done for me and my company. And just recently, I've had the experience of becoming a certified or professional EOS implementer. I went to a EOS boot camp, spent a couple of days there. And on the last day of the event, I don't know if you guys know, EOS is based on this book called Traction by Gino Wickman. All of EOS is created by Gino. And on the last day of the event, I actually met Gino on Wednesday night. And on Thursday, I was sitting at his table. So awesome. It was me and 4 people doing EOS with Gino Wickman for 8 hours. It was an amazing experience.
Awesome. I thought you were going to share more. I'm sure you had it with 8 hours with Gino Wickman. You have a lot to share here, but that's a really great, number one, story. Thanks for sharing that, Lynn. I know it was a tough time, and those will be transformational times when we have things like that, especially when it comes to our health or that of our family. For sure, I have maybe a similar type of story, which also is an underlying motivator in why I embrace systemization in our companies, and why I embrace quality and quality improvement. And much like Lynn, only wasn't for me. I saw both my younger son and my wife go down with long COVID symptoms that really took them out of day-to-day life and required multiple doctor's appointments and just a lot of time researching and trying to figure out how to help them kick long COVID and some of the debilitating symptoms that it presented them with. And so for the last 2 years, really from my wife really started suffering from it like in August of 2020, and my son about September of 2020. For the last 2 years, I told Josh Nelson, who's my coach in 7-Figure Agency, I said, the last 2 years have come back like a haze. But I was in many ways able to step away from my business, because the business largely runs without me, just much like Lynn. And it's only because of great systems and great people working together. And then with me as a leader, I was able to still lead, but largely put the time and effort that I wanted to play or put into, and time that I needed to give to my family. And so when you have systems in your business, you can go through times like that, or maybe it's just times where you want to take extended vacations or sabbaticals, as some people might call them, away from your business. And if you can't do that without systems, and if you don't have systems and you don't have quality and into that culture within your company, then you're going to see ups and downs. It still will still be a roller coaster. And both EOS and Six Sigma are really different, just maybe different approaches to arriving at great quality and excellence in your company. You guys all seeing my screen? Yeah.
Yes, I can see it.
All right, great. Awesome. If you guys have questions, I've tried to unmute pretty much everybody as well. So if you guys have questions, put them in chat. We'll discuss them. We don't have a lot of slides today, but we want to make it really interactive. And most of all, I just really want to give you guys some ideas and some really actionable things that you can immediately go away and implement, even if it's not going to be embracing everything that EOS is in your agency or everything that Six Sigma is in your agency. Let me give you a quick little overview about Six Sigma, and then I'm going to let Lynn give you a quick overview of EOS, and then we'll get to some actionable things that you can do, and then we'll just have a great Q&A discussion to finish out the hour. So here we go. So we're going to talk a little bit about quality improvement. Really, that's what the overarching topic is all about, is how to introduce quality and how to use systems in your business to arrive at better and better quality throughout the different buckets, as I put them, or divisions of your company. We're going to talk about Six Sigma. We'll talk about EOS. We'll talk about some practical applications and strategies, do some Q&A, and we'll be done. So what is Six Sigma? That sometimes you might hear also referred to as Lean Six Sigma. It's a driven methodology. It really does focus on improving the quality of the processes within the company. Obviously, as an agency, you're going to have more than one process. You're going to have, just at high level, sales processes. You'll have fulfillment processes. You may have financial processes or operational processes. And you can use the methodology to improve the quality of any given process within a company. And how you do that is just by identifying and removing causes and defects. This was used in many ways by the Japanese in manufacturing. And today, Toyota, Honda, Nissan, those three Japanese auto manufacturers still have a hallmark of quality and in their vehicles. And they're known for having very little defect and having a longevity and retaining their value because they're built with quality, and also you can put a lot of miles on them. And there's a very few defects within their manufacturing process because they've embraced this culture of Six Sigma and or quality improvement. You can also use statistical analysis and other tools to measure and control the process performance. The ultimate goal of Six Sigma is to achieve near perfect results in customer satisfaction. It actually has a numeric component to it where it refers to a statistical measure of quality with a defect rate of no more than 3.4 parts per million. Obviously, in manufacturing, that has a lot of applicability. So in an agency business, this is going to look a little bit different, just like EOS will look different from company or industry to industry. The underarching process here is this DMAIC, define, measure, analyze, improve, control process. Define the problem, quantify it, identify the cause of the problem through analysis, and then implement an improvement protocol that's going to help solve the cause and the outcome that you don't want, and then look for measurement and control over that new implementation. So I'll give you a quick example of how we just use this in our agency. In January, in a team leads meeting, we did something called a fishbone diagram root cause analysis exercise with our team. And I'll show it to you guys here in a little bit, but we used this process to identify the root cause of an unwanted outcome that we were getting in the agency. And the unwanted outcome was simply that we had these coming into us that were using us as a white label, who felt like we weren't doing a good enough job in the first 30 days of communication about what was going on. And so I'd seen a couple of things like that, a couple of responses like that over the last 3 months or so. And I said, all right, this is recurring to enough where it's an unwanted outcome in our business. And we need to identify what the root cause of it is, and then how are we going to improve it. And so we just went through a very simple process as a team, very quickly identified the root causes of what was going on there, and we're able to implement a solution. So that's how you can use some just overarching Six Sigma strategies to address different processes or different unwanted outcomes in your agency. I'll go through some practicals at the end here, but I want to give Lynn the floor and have him talk a little bit about what EOS is.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I'm definitely interested in learning more about the system that you're showing us too. It's new to me. Obviously, I've read some books on the Japanese and the Toyota and how effective it's been for them. Seeing it applied to an agency is really cool, though. EOS, as I told you guys before, after my health scare and near-death experience, needed something quickly to put something in place in my agency that I could begin to take myself out of the day-to-day. And for me to be able to do that, I needed great people and great processes. And what is EOS? It's developed by Gino Wickman. Gino Wickman's a lifelong entrepreneur like most of us. He started cobbling together EOS, 15 years ago or so, and ended up building a really cool operating system that helps businesses grow across several different areas. And those areas really are around vision, traction, and healthy. And vision means we just need to get everybody on the same page. Let's get everybody in the organization on the same page, rowing the same direction, all with the same sort of vision from the visionary of the company moving forward. And then traction is about installing discipline and focus and having that throughout your company from top to bottom so that everyone in your team's executing on that vision. And then healthy is a system to help your leaders become more cohesive, functional, and a healthy leadership team, because let's be honest, most of the time it's not. If you want to flip slides there for me, Lane. What we're looking at here is really the EOS model. And the EOS model is a visual illustration of 6 key components in a business that need to be managed and strengthened to be a great business. And so I'll just run you through those 6 key components really quick. We start with vision, of course. Vision, of course, is strengthening this component. It means getting everybody on the team 100% on the same page about where you're going and how you're going to get there. Then there's obviously some tools. So for each component, there are tools that EOS has created to help you achieve your vision. And the 8 questions, obviously, that's things like, what are your core values? What is your core focus? What's your 10-year target? What is your marketing strategy? What's your 3-year picture, your 1-year plan, and then your rocks and issues list. And then, of course, getting those shared by all across the entire team is what it looks like to be 100% strong in the vision component. Then you need to get the right people in the right seats. So when you work on people, you just can't do it without great people. You got to surround yourself with great people, top to bottom, because you can't achieve a great vision without a great team. And so the 2 tools that we use in EOS to get great people, to get the right people in the right seats, are essentially obviously use the core values, and you hire based on the core values. EOS provides like a people analyzer that helps you make sure you get the right people, and getting them in the right seats means, these people, the right people have skill, the right people believe in your core values, and getting them in the right seats is putting the right person in the right place on your team. And then, of course, when you've got your vision and you've got your people working towards your vision, then EOS helps put in place the data component that helps you cut through the feelings and the personalities and the opinions and the egos that typically come in an organization. And you work on just a very objective handful of metrics that you guys can look at on a weekly basis to know if you guys are on track or off track. And so when you have those 3 components strong, vision, people, and data, you start to create this transparent and open, honest organization where honestly, you start to smoke out issues, right? When you guys are all working the same way together, you're going to find issues. And EOS has built some tools to help you solve the issues in your company. And so strengthening the issues component of your company means that you guys are going to become great at solving problems. Just like Lane, they recognized they had a problem, they brought it to the team, They got to the root, the core root. It's usually not what you think it is. What is the core root of the problem? And then EOS teaches you to set them up, knock them down, and make those problems go away forever. Then, of course, there's the process component. This just means systemizing the core processes in your organization. Everybody's got a sales process. Everybody's got a marketing process. Everybody's got all of these different processes in their company. And EOS starts you on the 80-20, or in this case, 20-80. What are the 20% of the processes that need to be documented that get you 80% of the results? So you identify those core processes, you get everyone on the same page with what the essential procedures and steps are, and then you get everyone on the team to follow them. So they're followed by all. This creates consistency and scalability in your organization. And then traction. Traction is the last component of the EOS model. This is where you can't have I think in EOS, they say vision without traction is hallucination.
Uh-huh.
And so
it's a really great quote too.
This is really bringing the vision component down to the ground and putting it in action. This means being disciplined and accountable in the organization, becoming great at execution. And the tools that they use in the traction component are meeting rocks. You guys are familiar with the sort of rock analogy, where if you have a vessel and you fill it full of sand, you fill it full of pebbles, then you can't get the important rocks in. You got to start with the rocks. You put the rocks in first, and the rocks are essentially the quarterly goals and the things that you guys want to execute on a 90-day plan in your company. And then having a great meeting pulse. Like, how do we get all of this done? How do we weekly look at our scorecards, have a level 10 meeting? What's the pulse of our meetings? How often do we have them? And then, of course, there's a level 10 meeting, which is, it's a really great meeting that we have in our company every week. It starts on time, ends on time, has an agenda, has a very detailed way for you to solve the problems in your company. So that's the EOS model. I'm sure there's plenty of questions. And obviously, I just touched on the fringes of it, but I just want to show you that model. And then, of course, this is the typical, the EOS method. So this is how EOS implementers work with people. You start with a 90-day meeting where we teach you about us, and then we learn about you. We learn where you've been, where you are right now, and where you want to be. Then we guide you through the tools and show you what the tools are. And then we talk through the process of how this actually works. Then you schedule a focus day where we build your accountability chart, we build your rocks, we build your meeting pulse and build your scorecard. 30 days later, you do vision building. This is where you set your core values and your core focus and your 10-year targets and your marketing strategy and 3-year picture, 1-year plan, all of those things. And then, of course,
this is what implementers are doing, helping a company or an agency or any company implement EOS. They're going through this process.
Correct. And this is the EOS pure way to do it. Obviously, you guys can implement EOS on your own. The tools are free. You can download them from the site. You can go grab the book Traction, and it'll guide you through it. It's hard. This is a lot of work. I tried to self-implement this and really struggled and didn't really achieve the of my business and growing from 10 to 27 employees until I hired an implementer. That being said, all of those things led me to taking myself out of the regular day-to-day in my company, doing a lot more consulting and coaching. And I fell in love with this process, and I just recently became a professional EOS implementer. The toolbox, the things that you see on there, there's a core set of about 20 tools that you can learn to handle just about any of the things that you'll face in your business, whether it's people or processes or systems or metrics and goals. And they teach you how to delegate and elevate and how to take clarity breaks. And all of these tools are pieces that you implement over the time of a couple of years with an EOS implementer. I don't know if that's...
It's very helpful. Yeah. And it gives you, I did throw in for everybody the blog post that goes over a lot more of Six Sigma. I think it's very valuable. That's why I wanted Lynn to really share more in depth about EOS. You could spend days and days talking about just EOS, and same thing about Six Sigma. But there is a blog post on our Marketing Center of Excellence website that also has a pretty significant deep dive into just all about Six Sigma and different tools. And I think that's the kind of the overarching message that I want to send. First of all, is to me, the EOS is overwhelming. And so I know when I looked at it and read the book Traction, I was like, there's no way I'm doing this myself. I'm not going to implement this. It's not my personality. And I'm in too many different places to implement that into our agency or Signal Genesis right now. But I've been using quality improvement tools for years, not just in the agency business, but in previous companies as well. And I think that's the overarching first message I want to give to all of you is don't get overwhelmed by all this, because you could do a deep dive in both Six Sigma or EOS and get completely overwhelmed and go, man, I can't. And then if you're like me, then if I get to that point, then I don't do anything with it. I just move on. You can take a tool from EOS or take a tool from Six Sigma and just apply it to your agency and just start getting better. And then when you feel like you have the time and it's the right chapter in your business to implement an EOS or really go deeper with Six Sigma, then you can even hire a consultant or an implementer like a Lynn or somebody else to come in and really help you put all those pieces into place in your entire company and help be that coach and implementer for you, which I think is necessary. Lynn, did I ever give you any statistics on success rate of implementation in EOS when doing it by yourself versus hiring and investing in an implementer?
I don't think I saw anything like that, but there were some pretty eye-opening stats that they did share. There's 649 professional EOS implementers in the country, or in the world actually, who have done over 135,946 full session days with about 20,095 companies. It's widely known, it's well known. And again, I want to piggyback on what Lane said, that you don't have to implement everything. We started with writing out our core values about what did we believe. And again, you can download these tools from EOS or wherever. And I think then we tried to build a level 10 meeting and we started doing little pieces of it. And anything else, if you're consistent and you keep working on it, you get better over time, it will have an impact on your business. And I'm not here to sell you EOS. It's just what I do. There are a lot of operating systems. There's the Rockefeller habits. There's Clockwork. There's scaling up. There's so many different ones. This just happened to be the one that found us, and we found it, and it's been great for us.
What's the certification process like? Yolanda has that question, Lynn, for EOS.
EOS certification now is a franchise model, so you have to pay the pretty exorbitant franchise fee and then go through a boot camp. It's not terrible, but it's definitely intense. We spent several 16-hour days together with 15 minutes for lunch. Go get your lunch and come back, and we got to keep going. And it's definitely, I enjoyed the process. I thought it was amazing. Everything was first class, top notch. But I just went through that process recently.
Applying this to an agency, here's what, and we didn't have to get far into this diagram, and I was leading my team through this. The problem statement was we have too many instances of a complaint that we aren't giving enough communication in the first 30 days. And I thought I had this addressed because when I do in my lead up with an agency, we go through the first 30 days of SEO and what that looks like. I even have a spreadsheet for it. So we thought we had that solved, but obviously we didn't. And I think one of the important principles here to maybe underscore is I had to be the leader. Okay. So my first inclination was, man, why are my account managers not communicating with our clients enough? I've asked them to stay in touch and really be sure that they're proactive in communication that first month. But honestly, I had to take ownership of it first. And number two, it'll be very hard to have a culture of excellence if you as the leader are slamming your people and coming down on them when there's unwanted outcomes. And every business is you can't grow without having some unwanted outcomes in your business. It's just going to happen. But as a leader, we have to take ownership of it and not come down on our people. If there's a repetition of not following an SOP and the system that's already put in place, that's a different story. And that's an individual issue, not a whole team issue. And so that's a really important thing too, is in our team meeting, in all honesty, a couple of our team members had made some mistakes, and they knew it because they were things that I had talked about with them before, but our systems needed to be improved. Okay. And so I had to take ownership as a leader, that our systems weren't up to par and weren't foolproof, to make sure that our account managers were following what they've been advised and counseled to do. And so we just made the system better to help them be better, especially when they got busy. And that was really ultimately when we started to go through, all right, what's going on here? What's the potential issues that could be causing this unwanted problem in our business? And in the fishbone diagram, if you use the Six Sigma one, there are actually going to be 6 different areas of the business here. I customize this for an agency because in an agency, we have different potential areas that are going to feed into the problem. And so I've just customized this and put the different buckets or areas of an agency that are going to lead to most or all issues or problems in the company. And so we started going through it and started asking questions and discussing, and we had to have an open discussion. And so it's really important as a leader to create an environment, a team environment, a positive environment. You want feedback and you want interaction. You want the team's input and buy-in on this, because once they realize that, hey, if we make a mistake, we're not going to get slammed and publicly humiliated. We're all going to work as a team to be better and make our systems better and just continue to improve on our quality. And literally within less than 15 minutes, we had identified the root cause. And the root cause was simply that we didn't have it down to the task level in our onboarding task list in our system to send those weekly emails. They knew they needed to do it, but they weren't tasked out. And then we also co-identified another issue in fulfillment at a larger level while going through this exercise. And so we actually solved 2 major problems in our agency by simply going through a cause and effect or fishbone diagram process, root cause analysis, right? So this is a very simple tool that you could use and a process you can use with your team, whether it's 1 person or 10 people or 100 people. Typically not going to be 100 people because you're going to want a smaller group to be able to have a real dialogue around the problem and potential issues or factors that are potentially causing that root problem. And then, like Lynn said, while we may think we know what the cause is, until you go through an exercise, you really don't know. You're just guessing until you look at the data and get feedback from the team members who are affected or who are responsible. You won't really know. So let me see here. We have any questions here about this or any? Most of you are unmuted, so you could speak to if you want. But so feel free to just pipe in if you want, or if you have a question, feel free to put it in there. Lynn, do you have anything you want to add here? We're pretty much done with in terms of the content. We figured we'd have about 15 to 30 minutes of Q&A if there's any desire for that today.
Yeah, there's been a few questions that I've been handling in the chat. Lori asked, how do we implement EOS, or how do you successfully implement an operating system like this when you work with a white label agency? Or how do you get your white label agency to follow your core values or your beliefs? And there's a great answer in the chat. Richard said that you may have to look for another white label agency that fits your core values. I think that's a good answer. It's hard to work with people that don't fit your core values. It's really difficult to, heck, even sometimes you got to make sure your core values match with your actions. It's hard to even control that sometimes, much less an external source. And finding good people to work with is always the right way to do it. And then I saw a question about how do we implement these as really small teams? EOS is really the best fit for a company of 10 employees or more. And so it is a full business operating system. It requires a lot of hard work from a lot of people. I would say there's always a good place to start. Identifying who you are. One of the things we do in the 7-figure agency, I know some of you guys are here there, obviously, is figure out who your target market is. Really figure out the demographics and psychographics of the people that you want to serve, people you like to work with. I think that's a good answer across the board.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to, in part, introduce our audience to Six Sigma as well. In part because I think EOS, it is an entire business operating system. So there is a commitment there, and you can't half-ass it with EOS. Like, you either go for it and you're going to do it, or you're not, because there's just no. Am I right in that, Lynn?
I think so. You can do pieces of it, but if you were to hire an implementer, they're going to push you to implement EOS, the pure EOS, not just some bastardized version of it. We had our own little bastardized version, excuse my language, of our level 10 meeting where we'd get on and we talk about all of our clients. We go through every project. That's completely not what the level 10 meeting is, not at all. And so we faked our way through it and struggled until I saw, I'm a coach in the 7-figure agency and I'm on the leadership team there. And when I saw how efficient the 7-figure agency team was in setting goals,
Yes.
hitting them every quarter, 100% rock
impressive.
completion every quarter, I just couldn't believe how efficient everyone was, how accountable and open and honest everyone was with each other and truly loved each other. And I'm like, I need that in my company. And to be honest, it was me and a bunch of subcontracted employees, and some of them had one foot in the door and one foot out. We didn't come together as a team until they could see the vision. There's a great book, Jocko Willink, Extreme Ownership. There's a story in that book about, obviously the book is built around stories of his military service overseas. But one of the stories, the moral of the story, long story short, is if the leader doesn't believe in the plan, the team won't believe in the plan. And so the leader, your visionary, has to have a clear vision. What worked well for us is we built that vision together. My team bought in, not when I wrote my core values, when we wrote our core values, when we together collectively sat down and did a core value exercise, and we wrote all of the qualities that we thought we wanted to be as a company, and we built them together. When we did that, when we picked our target market, when we decided what we offered, and it wasn't me leading and just saying my way or the highway. It was a collective group of people that came together as a team, and then we gelled. And that's when my team bought in. And that's when my team started to love what they do. And that's when we started to grow.
Yeah, really good. The overarching theme there is leadership, and it takes a leader, the company owner, the executive in larger companies. It takes the leader to in Six Sigma. You got the champion. You got somebody who has to champion the entire effort, and it has to go from the top down. It's very hard for EOS. In fact, it's really impossible for EOS or really a Six Sigma approach to be implemented from the bottom up, because the bigger you get as an organization, the more buy-in is difficult, the more competing interests and egos you have. Lynn even mentioned that before. When you talk about issues, the issues start to rise aside from emotions and egos and what everyone thinks. When you start to look at the data, you start to just measure things, you look at things objectively. You need a champion, you need a leader to do that, and it needs to be a really good environment for that. Yolanda said, I find that most companies have not identified and documented their core values. It's very true. Either that or they've put them up on their webpage once and they're never to be found again. It's just, we got to have some core values. It kind of looks good, sounds good.
Yeah, people don't learn from posters. You can print a poster up and put your core values up, but that's not how people buy into your core values. You have to live them. You have to hire around them. You have to fire around them. You have to hold people accountable around them. You have to do your quarterly or your one-on-ones with them around core values. You have to reward people for them. One of the things we do in our Slack channels, we send shout outs in our team, but we don't just say, hey, thanks, Ozma, for doing a great job. We say Ozma is living our core value of excellence. He did this. And we over and over.
That's awesome. That's a really great tip right there. Don't let that one slip, guys. Say that again, Lynn.
When we praise our team, we praise them for living our core values.
Really awesome.
I don't just say, hey, Ozma, great job. Say Ozma is living our core value of excellence. Here's what she did. Or Ataz living our core value of being resourceful.
Love that. That's really good.
And so we're constantly reinforcing our core values in our company, in our hiring, in our firing, in our meetings, in our level 10 meetings, in our shout outs, and in our kudos channel in Slack. That's where you build and live and eat and sleep and dream your core values.
Yolanda's got an interesting question or nuance I want to talk about because I think it's important. She says, you're talking my language, but as an agency owner, how do we stay in our lane by providing digital marketing solutions, not working with them, i.e. the client, on their values and vision? I'm worried I won't be able to help myself, LOL. Really good point. And yes, today is for you as an agency owner, not for you to go try and do this with your clients. Okay. This is for you for us as agency owners, as company owners, on being that champion, being that leader, and saying, this is going to be part of our company culture, our core values, and I'm going to champion this internally at my agency, my company. Not implementing this for, or even trying to consult with clients on this in their business. When I'm talking to you today about Six Sigma and some of these tools, I'm talking about how we're using this in our agency to be a better agency, to be a better white label partner for our agencies, right? So that we can have better, more and more quality. I've got a full-time person who's just the quality assurance manager. All he does is work on making us better and making sure our work product is excellent. And that is and I love Lynn's point about this, is really repeating the core value when our team members do something that's in line with our core values of, say, this case, excellence. And that's one thing that I just drill into our team members is, team, we're always striving to be better. We're always looking for ways that we can improve our systems. And so this is in their hiring documentation. Like, our core values are not just on our website, it's in our employee handbook, and it's in our hiring documentation. And our HR manager goes through this with our clients, or with our team members. But I don't even go as far as what some of the things that Lynn's talked about. So there's all these really cool ways that you can, as the leader, implement this culture into your business. You don't have to get overwhelmed by having to do it all right away. Lynn made a really good distinction, and I think it's really important, is that for a lot of companies, EOS doesn't make sense until they're at 10 or more employees. We're at 24 or 25 right now, not including me and Matt. So 26 total. And that's not including our dev team either. That's just on the agency side. And I'm not ready to implement EOS yet, but I am definitely implementing quality improvement processes that I've learned through the years in our business to be better, right? This blog post or guide that I dropped as a link in here for you guys will have a lot of more detail about Six Sigma. And then there's some tools in here. There's some guides about how to just simply start to implement these things in your agency or in your company, some strategies on how to just standardize processes. We use project management and our task list templates as probably our main method or tactic of standardizing processes, because everything on our team has to be down to a task level so we can measure it, we can quantify it, and we can report on it. And that was one of the other things that we identified in that fishbone diagram or root cause analysis, is that we had team members who were doing things, but they were not checking off every task. And then we had some team members doing some things that there were not tasks for. And then we had some things that were expectations, but they were not tasked out. And so it all came back really down to our processes and standardizing our processes. And for us, that's a task list template that needs to be improved. And then the tasks need to be checked off when they are done by every team member. And I followed up with my ops manager after that team meeting and said, look, you need to enforce that the team members must mark the tasks being done, or the whole system starts to fall apart. And so with the process, we will identify some major things, although minor, because we already have systems in place. They were areas that were just gapped out in our processes. So anyway, enough about that. Any other questions? Otherwise, we can call it a day. We've had, let's see here. We've got
a great discussion in the chat.
Go ahead, Lynn. Go ahead, please.
No, there's just been great discussion. I think the questions are pretty much answered.
Okay.
Richard's adding a lot of value, talking about them as continuous improvement. These systems aren't designed to point out people not doing their job. And that's 100% true. These are systems and processes that are failing. In my company, when there's a failure, I don't care where it is, it starts with me. I didn't train them well enough. I didn't have a good enough process in place. And all of the systems that we put in place, especially the issues list and the IDS session of level 10, where we just track our issues. And just like Lane, we found an issue, they threw it on the issues list. Every week, we solve the top 3 issues that move the needle the most in our company. We tackle 3. If we can get to 4, we'll go to 4. If we can get to 5, we'll go to 5. Every week we make progress on something that's not quite right in our agency. And so every week we're improving just ever so slightly, even if it's 1% every week, we're growing and we're getting better over time. These are not people failures. If you've hired correctly, if you have core values and you have the right people process, do they get it? Do they want it? And do they have capacity? Do they fit your core values? Are they all in? All of that. Every failure in my company is something that I started at the top. So it's in my company, nothing's personal. It's just a failure of the system itself.
You could go down a whole rabbit hole, and Lynn is also really good at hiring and hiring right. He's created an entire high level snapshot around hiring, how to automate many parts of it. But excuse me, hiring right is really important. And as soon as you start to invest in training and putting people through training, and then you have to go through the pain of them not working out, and then you're like, man, I got to hire somebody new and go through training all over again. You start to really, going through enough pain there will induce some sort of, hey, how can I hire better the first time? We use disc testing, and I know EOS uses Colby, but that's a tool. And so that's another tool to make sure you get the right people on the bus and in the right seats, which is a good to great principle that I learned from Jim Collins, who wrote the book Good to Great. I got to meet Jim Collins in Colorado many years ago. We both won an award at the Community Leadership Association annual event, and he was there getting an award. I was there getting an award, and he actually signed his book for me and then sent me a whole bunch of copies as a follow-up, which was really cool, unique. But that's a great book. It talks about the good to great principles, and they're really those principles of what took a good company to being a great company while competitors stayed just average or good. And one of those principles is get the right people on the bus and in the right seats. And there's a great tool. You can use tools to make sure that you have as much insurance policy as possible that you're hiring right. Yeah, that's a really important principle, because there's nothing that will take out your company culture faster than a cancerous team member or employee.
And that's about accountability, and a lack of accountability across the board. I know where you're going with this. Nothing will kill your team more than letting a bad employee get away with things.
Yes.
No accountability.
Yeah. Whether it's getting away with just a bad attitude, or getting away with showing up late consistently to a meeting, or just consistently not following an SOP, that cancer will spread very quickly, and it will erode your company culture. It can erode years of hard work to build that by letting one person who's a cancer in your culture. So we hire slow, fire fast, follow that principle. If there's somebody who's a problem, we identify it as quickly as we can and we take action. There's an immediate turnaround after a talk, or there's an excusal termination and we replace them, because our company culture is so valued and so hard to build that you protect it jealously once you build it and have it there.
There's a question in the chat for us here around SEO, Google My Business Profile question.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Do you want to tackle that?
Yeah, sure. Chad has a question. He said, I saw a guy recommending products for GBP optimization. I wanted your thoughts on it. He recommended creating products of the same service for each geo area you have, and then linking the product to the location page. And the answer is yes. We just talked about this on the Signal Genesis webinar with Josh and Seven Figure Group. Actually, I can pull up that slide deck. We went into detail about that, and I'll share a little bit more about that here real quick, since we've got a really good kind of off-topic question today.
Here?
But
okay.
So we went into products. It's a big missed opportunity, and it's better than services. Besides us just talking about this 2 weeks ago with the Seven Figure Group, when we went through this presentation, talked about products and how you can edit products versus services. I also just interviewed Darren Shaw from Whitespark last week, and he's about to unveil his 2023 local ranking factor study. And in my interview with him, we were talking back and forth, and he also confirmed the very same thing that we were talking about, is that products actually get more weight than services, while also services now are a signal, whereas before the consensus was that services weren't a signal when you added them. They now are, according to the experts that contribute to his ranking factors study. I will say it's definitely a signal. But products is more more juicy, more powerful than services. And so what Darren mentioned in the interview, and my interview with him will drop in not this week, but next week, is that you can add your services. If you're a plumber, add your services as products. And then to Chad's point, when you go to create a product, you obviously get a link. And so you can link that product to wherever you want. Now, Chad's question is, the person he heard talking about this was that they linked the product to the location page. I might do that, but I might not. What I would rather do, and in most cases this can be done, is I would link the product to a real product on that corresponding website where there could actually be a purchase. Now you're thinking, Lane, it's a plumber or it's a roofing company. They're on an e-commerce site. It doesn't mean you can't charge for a service call fee or an estimate fee, or think of other ways. Even if there's not going to be a real purchase, Google will recognize it's a product page versus just a location page, and it's going to prefer the product page over some other page. If you can get transactions and an actual transaction off of that corresponding page, you've got a home run, because now you've got the highest trust signal that can be generated, i.e. a credit card transaction tied to a real person, tied to a real visit on a website that came from a product link through your GMB listing. That's a huge signal for that GMB listing. But there's definitely different ways you can link off of the products that you create. When you go to create a product, this is what you see here, and you've got your product landing page here, and you can choose that URL strategically within your overall linking strategy. What I'm saying is, if you can link it to an actual e-commerce type of page on the target site where there can be a transaction that could occur, if you can get the transactions to occur, that's the grand slam of the home run. So anyway, and we did this on our Quantum Agency GMB listing. We're linking right out to the shop, the e-commerce page here, where there can actually be a transaction. But yes, products are a signal. Yes, they're a stronger signal than the services, but both are valuable content. And I'll leave you guys with this. The biggest point that Darren made in our interview this last week was all about dwell time on the Google listing. And so his point was that if you don't have reviews, if you don't have posts, if you don't have photos, if you don't have services and products, then you don't have all that content there for somebody to actually stay on your Google listing and read it and dwell. And the dwell time on a Google listing is also a behavioral signal, and a very good one. Besides the ranking signals that you can get from adding products and services or Q&A or whatever, it's just simply having content there that's relevant to users to help keep them there on your Google listing, and or to use the links to link through to your target domain. Really good question. Off topic for quality, which was really cool. I'm glad we got that question. Thank you, Chad, for asking that. I hope you all got some value for your quick lunch and learn hour today. This masterclass was just all about just exposing us to the fact that we can embrace quality improvement either at a light level or at a very deep level with a full-on commitment like the EOS model. Anywhere in between is totally awesome. And don't feel guilty that you're not like embracing a full-on Six Sigma system or EOS system. It can be overwhelming. So just start somewhere and use some of these tools and these strategies to start a continual process of improving quality in your agency. And as you do that, you'll be able to really live out probably more of your culture by design. And you'll be able to actually utilize it as a differentiator from you and all the other agency competitors that are out there, because very few actually truly embrace this as part of their culture at their company and have a process, whether it's lean and light or more committed and heavy in terms of an overall system to operate their company. But there's very few that actually embrace any kind of level of this. And so you're going to be in the minority by embracing a quality improvement culture in your agency. Everyone, thanks a lot for your time and attention today. If you want a copy of the slide deck, the February Masterclass one, As usual, just drop some feedback for us. Tag me in either Facebook or LinkedIn. I'll drop the link for you to the slide deck so you can have these. I'll include, obviously, the article here as well. And really appreciate all of you and your time. Hope you got some value today. Have a great afternoon and a great rest of your week. We really appreciate you at the Marketing Center of Excellence. Goodbye for now. We'll talk to you all soon.
I have one last little thing real quick.
Yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead. Sure. Sorry, Lynn.
EOS may or may not be for you, but you may have clients that need it.
Good point.
If you guys have a client that's between 10 and 250 employees and you want me to send them a copy of Traction from you, reach out to me. Let me know.
Sweet.
I'll send them a copy of Traction from you as a gift.
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, and that kind of goes to Yolanda's question. Like, you don't have to be the one to come in there and be the consultant on their quality improvement process. And you're going to be a really good window into their business. Like, you'll see that they may need that. And rather than trying to tackle that for them as well, just hit up Lynn and have him help out, because that's potentially a really good way for you to get more glue with the client, add value to them without having to undertake trying to be their consultant in quality for their company, because you can't scale that yourself. You need to keep providing your digital marketing solutions and stay in your swim lane so that you can really grow your agency. So that's a really good point, a really good way to end. Lynn, anything else before we wrap today?
I'm all good. Thanks you guys for humoring me today. I love talking about this stuff. And if there's anything I can ever do to help, let me know.
Yeah, huge. Awesome. Thanks a bunch.
Thanks.
You guys have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.